There we go. Yep, we're good. Right, so this is Paul Fitzgerald, is that right? Is that right?
It is, yeah, yeah.
Paul, I invited Paul on because I've seen a bits and pieces of his content. I think it was the Goggins page where we first interacted, maybe. But I've been following your content and watching your content for a few weeks, and I thought this guy's right on the same wavelength as us. And I thought it would be an interesting conversation. So I'll not ruin it too much. Paul, I'll let you introduce yourself. So tell us a bit about your background, your history, whatever you think's relevant or important.
Okay, yeah. So Paul Fitzgerald. Straight away, I'd say a very sporty guy. Love my exercise. A lot of people know that about me. I like to play off the physical and mental sides. At the same time, avid chess player when I was a kid. Like a bit of strategy. Definitely like one-to-one battles, competitions. Super competitive. I've recently worked out why that is, because my brother was only 11 months older than me, and we were forever competing at something. You know, even walking down the street was a race to get to the end. So they're the raw ingredients. I'm quite straightforward. I like to keep things simple. A man of not few words, but I don't, you know, we're not going to talk for hours and hours about a theory of something. I like to get stuff done. I like to get results done. Yeah. And in it, yeah, that's me really. I'm all about energy as well. Love to be full of energy and have a bit of fun in what we do, bit of playfulness, bit cheeky, bit mischievous as well. Yeah, and that's me in a nutshell, really.
Tell us a bit about what you do with your business and how you got there, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm a coach. I'm a results and fulfillment coach. I found that I was a bit obsessed with the word fulfillment. And what I realized, that was really more so to fix myself, I would say. I was in a bad way previously, so I'll come to that in a minute, the sort of journey leading up to it. It's now results and mindset. I've realized that I'm obsessed with mindset. And obviously acknowledge how super powerful that is personally and also for my clients. So in essence, that's my business. I've been running that for now a year. And the way I got there, I left corporate world 16 months ago. And so I had shall I tell you the whole? There's a long version and a short version. Shall I go for it?
No, okay. Let's go with the long one. Let's get
okay.
into the nitty-gritty, if you don't mind.
All right. Yeah, sure. No problem. So basically a career in corporate world, you know, pretty successful, good money, good car, good house, etc.
What type of corporate was it?
It's retail.
Retail.
High street retail. I was a senior manager in there. So I was in charge of 8 area managers, and they were in charge of sort of 1,500 staff. So it's big teams, running big teams, quite stressful, quite pressurised. Had no free time, no spare time, or didn't make free time, as we say. So got to a point in that. I think for my whole life, really, I felt I never really fitted. I felt never really surrounded by like-minded people, never really totally energised by the environment or the people I've been around. I have to take ownership for that as well. But in the corporate world, I got to sort of the age of 45, really didn't enjoy what I was doing, really didn't enjoy the people I was with, didn't agree with a lot of what we were doing in terms of, you know, the policies and the level. We got obsessed with fluffiness, I think is what it was, and we forgot the results side, you know. And what was happening, we were having meeting after meeting, and it just felt like power struggles across the table in the boardroom, as opposed to having sort of meaningful meetings. When I wasn't doing that, I was going around giving prizes to people, you know, in shops, and it just, yeah, exactly, and it just. No, it was all meaningless for me, if I'm honest. But it got quite bad. I mean, I ballooned to 127 kgs, 20 stone. I was drinking 2 bottles of wine most nights as a coping mechanism, when I look back now. and also various other just bad habits, terrible eating habits. I wasn't exercising, and I realised that exercise is as much mental as it is physical, for me personally, and I think for a lot of people, you know, my clients. And the more I was neglecting that, the lower I was getting. Got to the point where I was suicidal by the end of it a couple of years ago. Just at my lowest point, I was lost, I was broken, pissed off, frustrated, didn't know which way to go. And the way I talk about it is my flame. My flame was pretty much nearly gone, is the way I describe it. You know, that fire in the belly.
Yeah.
So got to the lowest point. I was driving the car fast one morning, early morning, 5:30, going to my boot camp outside, and I just kept putting the foot down, and I wanted to die, man. And I was prepared to die, and the car was going faster and faster. And I scared myself, basically. You know, about the only thing I haven't succeeded at when I put my mind to it is killing myself. Thankfully, you know, thank God and all that. You know, and because I'm quite a determined person, and yeah, that was, I was afraid of myself. I was afraid of what I was capable of ending it. You know what I mean? And so thankfully, the lowest point, I rang the Samaritans, had the conversation. I can't really remember what it was said, but it was more about just that was my lowest point, and that was the breaking point, as it were. And then from there, you know, I was in tears. I was driving, as I say, driving the car fast. I pulled up to the car park of my boot camp. The ironical thing, I jumped out of the car, cracked on the field, as I always do. You know, tough Fitzy, here he is. You know, how much can you lift and all that carry on. Nobody had a clue what was happening 5 minutes previous, and they don't know till this day, until I've sort of publicly put it on Facebook and everything. I told the world. So that was the lowest point. And literally from there, I just said, you know what, I need to leave corporate world. I can't be in this cage, or this, you know, these restrictions around me all the time. I need to break free and just be myself 24/7 is what I was aiming for. I was aiming for inner peace, but I was aiming to notch up that flame that was pretty much almost gone out. So I basically walked out. I didn't really have a plan. Certainly didn't really have a plan financially. Didn't have a plan job-wise, really. Just knew I had to walk away. They did take care of me, I must admit. You know, I was put in a position where I had a bit of time. You know, a package gave me a bit of time to look around, and so in essence, I went on a journey of self-discovery for 16 months to date, and I was still discovering about myself. Yeah, man, it's a never-ending journey, personal development. So that's basically what I've done for the last 16 months. And now when I look back at it, what I was doing was, number one, rebuilding myself. And boy, did I rebuild myself. I rebuilt myself I broke myself right down to the tiniest little pieces, smashed it all down, you know, ripped everything open, with various techniques of NLP, etc., coaching. You know, I've had a coach through most of it. I definitely recommend having somebody there, having a third person outside of what you're doing, looking in and being able to advise you from the outside. You know, and to keep the visual roadmap going, and to keep clarity, vision, and keep you accountable. So what did I do? Well, it's been a while of a time. The last 16 months. You wouldn't have seen me smiling like this back then. I've found a level of inner peace that continues, but I've got more or less an inner peace. I've got mojo back. I've got my flame back. I'm being, the phrase I use is unapologetically and authentically me 24/7 is what I'm being. And that's what I was looking for, I think, all them years, you know, 45 years of that, really. And now that's what I do. I'm just being me 24/7, and it's blissful. There's freedom, and you know what I didn't realise over the 16 months. I was building my program. I was building this coaching program. I didn't realise it, but the whole time I found myself, jumping on the laptop and pumping in tips, hacks, tools that I was picking up myself to rebuild myself, and literally it was brick by brick at a time. And as I say, that building up the program, did UPW, did Tony Robbins. That was part of my journey. That was a life-changing moment. Especially day 3. For those people that have done it, they'll know that day 3 is it's called a Dickens process, where you basically go deep inside you rip out all of your limiting beliefs and whatever those niggles are, or whatever those mini traumas that you've had. And in the room on that day there was 12,000 people, and there was wailing, there was screaming. It was like, I call it an emotional exorcism. It was almost like the emotion was removing the pain or the restrictions that people had over the years. And it's a very, very powerful process, very powerful 4 days, unleash the power within. I then moved on from there, did various different personal development events. Andy Harrington's another guy. Lots of English, UK personal development events. Another life-changing moment, I studied to be an NLP practitioner. So for those people that don't know, so neuro-linguistic programming. In essence, I would say it's to learn how the brain works and how to really get in there into the subconscious and make strong positive shifts, as opposed to quick fixes that I see going on out there. I'm all about doing proper, deep, meaningful, powerful, complete shifts of people's mindset that they'll never go back.
It's just something. I mean, a lot of what you're describing is similar to what to how we work ourselves in our coaching process. NLP is massive. I mean, the language that somebody uses about themselves and others and about the world in general tells you a lot about what's going on.
Totally.
I think, and people go through their whole life completely unaware of this. That's the shocking thing. I mean, NLP should be something I think taught at schools.
I totally agree. Yeah.
There'd be a lot less people getting to that point where they're driving that car fast, or they're doing whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, you like, one thing that keeps coming back to, I'll talk about language in a minute with NLP, because that's really quite relevant, because I studied language for A level, so don't let me. I've got a short-term memory. So
there's a few questions that have been building up. Don't worry.
Yeah, sure, all good. Okay, I'll jump straight on that. I'll jump straight on the language. So I studied languages for A levels, Latin, Greek, and French, and I do enjoy it. And you're damn right. Like the language that people use, it tells you a huge amount. And that's one of the biggest things of my coaching is immediately as soon as you first start talking to people, is the language that they're using. There's so much negative language being used. And quite often tweaking that over time really makes a difference to how a person perceives themselves, how they perceive the world, their general demeanor, their happiness. And you're right, people don't actually realize at first. And when you start making them aware of it, I've got one client in particular. He sends me his sort of weekly update before a call, and he said he goes over it so many times and rewrites it to make sure that he's using the right language for himself, though, not for me. It's not about me, it's about him. But
I was just going to mention that, just going to ask that, because what I found is when I first started doing it, people tended to do things thinking it would keep me happy or impress me, and I had to direct them away from that, because it doesn't really matter. I keep telling people it shouldn't matter what I think or what I say. It's entirely up to yourself.
Yeah,
people need to grasp that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And what I do, we do weekly videos between us as well, just one-to-one videos when we're not doing the calls, and it's amazing where you see the shift in behaviour and the shift in language over time. Like, for example, I get the clients to do cold showers, as is probably quite common out there.
Been doing it myself there for about since the start of lockdown. I've been on that. I did it a while back, and then I just got out of the habit, and I've just recently got back in it, and it's great. It's really good.
I had it before today's call. I have it before every call, just to get in the right state and frame of mind and all of that. But this guy, so I said to you, part of your thing for this week, I want you to have cold showers. You what? You know, what do I want to have that for? Fucking freezing cold. Why? And you explain the benefits. There's obviously physical and mental benefits, but the big thing for me is about shifting that mindset. Is about them being able to override the subconscious and the regular reoccurring behaviour and thought patterns, to stop them doing that. That inner voice that says, you don't need to do, what do you want to do this for? It's madness, it's pointless, and all of that. Is to get them to override that and basically remind their subconscious that they're in charge. I'm in charge. I'm going to have this cold shower because I want to, and because this is my choice, and I'm going to overcome the pain or anxiety or the uncomfortableness or whatever it is associated to it. And this guy in particular, so we went from that. I've now got him sending me videos. Cold showers are great. They're brilliant. He's saying I couldn't imagine a day without a cold shower. Like, it's just, I look forward to my cold shower, and all the positive language associated with it. And it's just an amazing shift to see. Anyway, so I've gone off on a tangent there. I told you I would.
No, that's good. That's good. One of the questions that popped up first for me was, you mentioned about your starting position and kind of being in that low point. And you mentioned the Samaritans, which I'm glad you did. There's a few of my clients actually who work at Samaritans. And I think it's a great service. I think it's amazing that we have something like that available, and here. And what would you say to people who are stuck, kind of are in that position? What would you say to do? What's the first port of call?
I think the first conversation is there is an alternative to what you're doing, to the regular stuff that you've been doing, whatever it is that you've been doing. It doesn't matter what the story is. There is an alternative. With the NLP, I absolutely do positive reframes, we call it, and quite simply to be explained is two words: what if, and I've used it forever since I've learned NLP, and it. Some people say, what if a negative thing, say like with lockdown. So what if this is going to happen? What if we never get back to work again? What if, I always spin it into positive. So what if I could do that? What if I could achieve that? What if tomorrow could be better than today? What if next week could be awesome? And you start that process to completely change how they're thinking. And quite often you get that aha moment. You get that look like that. Yeah, what if? Like what if? And then you continue the conversation, and it's so yeah. That'd be the first thing for me. And it doesn't. I don't believe it matters what people have been through. I really don't. There's always a brighter path looking forward. There always is. And it's just about constructing positive behaviour and positive routines. Routines is a big thing. Can you override discipline? I don't think you can. I think you still need a level of discipline in what you do. But routines, regular automatic routine, positive regular automatic routines can override discipline a little bit. I wouldn't say you could ever remove discipline. No. But once you start doing things,
I think I mean, it all starts. People think that the process starts from motivation, and all this other stuff. But really, it starts with doing something, well, just fucking get moving, because that
Yeah,
generates more momentum.
yeah, action, definitely.
Action's the only
Just
thing to get anything moving.
yeah, just get on with it. But yeah, and if I was speaking to that person where I was before, if I was speaking to myself, obviously I'd mention my path a little bit, that I've been through it as well with the person, and obviously open up a conversation. How is your world? What's happening? What's going on?
I think it's really important that you do, like you mentioned that about showing a level of understanding. I think for a lot of people, they until you show them that you can understand their position or where they're at, then there's no point. They won't listen to you. They're not interested.
Yeah,
Because if they
totally,
don't feel like they're being understood, then how can you help? In order to help
totally.
them, you need to understand where they're at and who they are. And
Yeah, 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 yeah,
all that
yeah.
stuff.
And I think a big thing is similar to what if. What if for me is more about the future. What if things could be positive as opposed to negative? But also when they're thinking about their issues or their past, I wouldn't say it like this, but it would be a conversation along the lines of, is it really truly as bad as you think it is? Or is your brain actually playing tricks on you a little bit and making it far worse? You know, and
I'll tell a funny. It's not funny actually. It's a pretty horrendous story, but it actually correlates with what you're saying. And you said, is it as bad as you think it is, and so on. And for me, one of the worst. Most recently, I've worked with one of the hardest things that I've ever had to work with in all my time, and it was somebody dealing with the loss of a child
yeah,
early on, and that was extremely hard to work through. But what I'm fairly lucky in my family is lucky and not lucky at the same time. But because we grew up in the troubles in the north, um, my family had lost members, and my granny and granddad lost a son at 20, and to see them come through that and end up leading really good, happy lives. All the other kids are up and are doing really well for themselves, either running a business or having a professional job, but also having a great life. And like, for example, my mum and dad have a wee caravan that they drive all around Ireland, and go and drink wine on these sunset locations and stuff. And it's, they're living the dream really. And a lot of my aunts and uncles are, and they were able to, even though they were dealing with that loss and really crazy times and no money, because at the time Catholics wouldn't get work. So it was really, really crazy. But they got through all that. They scraped through all that and ended up flourishing, in that kind of that grit and
yeah,
understanding from my family. I think that helped me,
yeah,
helped me show basically I was using stuff that I'd seen firsthand and says, look, you can get through this and things will be better. But there was also a Jewish guy, I think it was a Jewish guy, who was on talking. I can't remember where I'd seen him, but I'd seen him anyway, and he said that he'd lost his son, and that was the start of his journey. He lost his son at 9 or something to a freak accident, and it just crushed him. And he ended up splitting up with a wife and everything. Just his whole life crumbled. He just couldn't cope with it. And that is my greatest fear. If I have any fear at all, it's that. For my kids, I have 2 kids, and I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine going through that.
yeah,
But he says, look, start at ground zero. So the reason that I bring this up is for anybody listening to the podcast who maybe has been in that position, and for me, that's probably it's worse than death, 100% worse than death. So
yeah,
start from ground zero every day. Take that wherever you are at now. That's ground zero, and just anything good that happens after that is a level up. And that's what this Jewish guy was saying. He says, just start. Reset the new norm. He says, depression's when your expectations don't meet reality, or reality doesn't meet your expectations. Sorry, the wrong way around. So basically, because his reality didn't know his life, that was not how he expected his life to go. He expected to watch his son grow up and have a fantastic life and all the rest. And because he didn't, he didn't get that chance, didn't get that opportunity. That's what crushed him. It absolutely. But he, as he said, he reset back to ground zero and tried to push forward from there. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know, and hopefully I'll never ever have to find out if I would have the strength to do that. But I know people who have had the strength to do that, and it's phenomenal, the change and what you do. It is.
Yeah.
I made a massive blunder. I was on doing a what's the word? A seminar. Let's call it. I don't even know what you call it. But I was doing a seminar, a talk or something, I guess. It was a corporate one, and I happened to mention this story, saying basically talking about fears and the worst of the worst conditions. I explained that this guy had come through it, and that I'd witnessed my own family members come through this sort of loss. And there was a lady in the room who had recently lost a child to cancer, and it fucking absolutely. I mean, I've never put my foot in my mouth as bad in my entire life. No, there's no chance. I was on a bloody stage, and I was completely stuck for words. I didn't know what else to say. I just seen her run out, and I thought, oh God, what have I done?
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it was absolutely, it was absolutely horrendous. I had no idea. Obviously, I would never have brought that up.
Yeah.
It would be so fresh, and it being a very public event. It'd be different if it was a coaching session or something like that, but very public event. So that was one of my massive blunders, and a huge learning curve was not to bring that up on public events where people may be pretty raw and things like that. That was a learning curve and a half.
I think a key thing as well, I think everyone's got their own story as well, haven't they? And one big thing I've learned, whoever you're talking to, always remember that they've got their own shit, and you have no idea what it is. Could be absolutely anything. So I always give everybody that allowance, whoever I'm interacting with now, and that whole thing about, we all know that quite often we react in certain ways to people because of how we're feeling ourselves. We blame other people, and you say, oh, he's a tosser, or he's this or that or the other. And quite often it's because you're in a bad mood in the first place. You know what I mean? But now a big thing for me is thinking more external and thinking about the other person, and thinking, always giving people that allowance. If someone's a bit snappy or a bit, a bit done in, or just not sort of hooking up with your vibe or whatever it might be, that everyone's got their own story, man. And it's but the big thing for me is getting men to open up. They're buggers, aren't they? They don't want to open up. They don't want to admit that they're vulnerable, or that they're I smile about it now because I think about myself that 16 months ago. Stubborn fucker, stubborn bastard, didn't want to talk about it, thought he was strong enough to handle it, could handle anything, super strong mentally and physically. And meanwhile, he was dying inside. He was internally combusting inside. That flame was just disappearing. And that's probably a big thing for me now. Is that's part of my mission now, is getting guys to open up and just talk. Necessarily look for help, not really, just open up. I guess I don't want to see men go through what I went through, and go through it alone. I think that's a key
What's your
thing.
thoughts on that? I mean, what's your thoughts on guys not opening up? I mean, do you put it down to fear of being judged? Fear, I mean, that's usually what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I've done call it market research. I obviously put out content on Facebook and social media and stuff, and it's important to me what comes back. And I put it out there about what challenges do you think are facing men currently?
I think that's the post I commented on, actually.
Yeah. So I think there's many different reasons why men wouldn't be opening up, and I think the first thing is forgetting about self-care. I think we're all so busy rushing around, call it people pleasing, call it juggling plates, call it keeping the missus happy, the kids happy, making sure we're making money, making sure we're doing all these non-negotiable tasks, that we forget ourselves massively. You know, and before we know it, you're like I was, this fat bastard who's exhausted, tired, pissed off, unhappy, you know, and it just goes on and on and on, doesn't it? And we stay on that rat wheel, or that hamster wheel, and we just carry on trying to juggle all the plates, trying to keep everybody happy. Meanwhile, you know, the energy levels are disappearing, the happiness is disappearing, and before we know it, it's at crisis mode, isn't it? You know, society is another thing, isn't it? Like, what is a man these days? That's a big question, and I was seeing so many different views.
I mean, I have my own views on this, and I managed to get myself into a few decent, what's called them, conversations, and a bit of play on social media. I was talking about some of my advertisements were basically saying that a lot of times it's men are feeling very, very lost at the moment, and that generally they are. I mean, if you look at all the different directions they're going in, and that's how you can tell. You look at, I mean, men had a role or had something that they were doing, you know, 10, 20 years ago. And I think Ireland's a bit behind the times. So we obviously would have seen it kind of more or less from basically what would have been in England maybe 30 years ago. But I was seeing it, you know, 10 or 20. And I remember, you know, the guys, when I was growing up, everybody was in shape. Everybody at least attempted to get in some kind of shape. It was kind of just, you know, in a way, and we're going to talk about shame in a minute, but it's interesting that, but there was shame associated with not being in shape. And I think that it is a shame, and I mentioned this on the chat, and this is where I got a lot of trouble. So I says it is a shame for you not to know what your body's capable of. You know, you should. And people are so afraid to be, when they're talking about judgment, but judgment's actually a pretty healthy thing. We need judgment. You need to judge whether or not a fire is hot. Judgment saves us. Judgment it allows our judicial system to run, you know, or correctional facilities and so on. That's all to do with judgment. We have to be able to judge.
Yeah.
We have to be able to judge if we can trust another person or not, if they're being organic or authentic or they're not. If they're trying, you know, that's what we teach our kids, to judge whether somebody's lying or, you know, we teach them to defend themselves verbally and intellectually. And that's, judgment's a huge part of our human experience. And people have this crazy thing now on judgment. No, you should never judge another. And I do think we should judge others, but not in the way that people are thinking. You know, they use judgment almost like a bad word now. But judgment and empathy and understanding, they're all separate things. And they have all separate roles. And, you know, I believe massively in empathy and understanding. I think if you can't, you know, if you can't do that, then what are you doing? You should, every human should be at least trying to understand the others, because we're all here to learn, and we're not here for long.
I think maybe the how would I say, the sensitive point about your post is probably the word shame. Yeah, even when you said it, because it's got different connotations, isn't it? Like, you could say it's a shame that something didn't happen, you know, meaning it would have been nice if it did happen. Then there's the shame thing of embarrassment, isn't it? And that's probably what riled people, and in a way, So people's perception of pain, shame. I think the big thing, people don't want to be told the truth. That's the big thing as well. You know, especially about themselves. I have it over and over, and you know, I like to be honest. I like to be quite straightforward, and I like it in return as well. To be honest, you know, I think it's very constructive for people to be honest with each other, and even if it hurts a little bit. And that, as I say, that word shame is like it's like a dart in the heart, or a kick in the nuts in it. Like, I am, you know, back then I would have said I am shameful of my weight at 127 kgs, 20 stone, whatever. I am shameful that I drink fucking 2 bottles of wine every night. You know, I am shameful that I can't get my own identity in shape where I am. You know, I have to take responsibility for that, and I am shameful of that. And yeah, and a lot of people can't handle that, and it's
Instead
quite a
of,
big thing, isn't it?
it's funny, instead of using it like a tool, which is what you're discussing there, they
Yeah,
tend to use it like some kind of battering ram to beat themselves with, to make themselves feel
yeah,
worse.
yeah.
And that's not the purpose of it at all. And it's, it was crazy the response I got. But what was amazing afterwards is I got a few messages not long after I did the video, and it was a live video.
Yeah,
And a few guys come back and says, "Man, I'm really glad you did that. You just gave me the kick in the arse that I needed." Like,
yeah,
I remember I used to be one of those guys in shape. Some of the guys from my old boxing club, and then they were in shape when they got themselves out of it,
yeah,
and it didn't feel good and it didn't feel right.
yeah,
And so they were like, "Thanks for that. I really needed that."
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you can't please everybody. I guess there's a lot of these social justice kind of warriors nowadays. It's but we'll not go into too much of that. I mean, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. There's a lot of stuff that does need rectified, like the pay gap and so on. Within
Sorry, what was that? The
like
what?
the pay gap within
Yeah,
professionals.
yeah,
So like within the
yeah,
NHS, for example, male doctors are paid more than females doing the exact same work, which is a bit weird, but and stuff like that shouldn't be. But then if you look at some of Jordan Peterson's stuff, which is quite interesting. Do you know Jordan Peterson?
I've been introduced to him recently. A few weeks ago, someone mentioned him. I've not looked into any of his stuff just yet.
I mean, his stuff is interesting. What I like about it is he's a clinical psychologist, so he's basing a lot of it on scientific study, and scientific study can be manipulated. We all know that,
Hmm.
but it's what we've got. It's the best tools we've got so far to figure out what's closest to the objective truth.
Hmm.
And he talks about uh, the difference in dangerous jobs. So if you look at the percentage of men doing dangerous jobs versus percentage of women doing dangerous jobs, the percentages are so much more. It's like 94% of firefighters are men and stuff like that. And it's not to say that
Hmm.
it can't be. That's just women don't tend to want to be that. They don't tend to, they don't.
Yeah.
They're not as they tend to be more risk averse um, than men, and that's just across a wide body of evidence.
Yeah.
So that obviously that's going to have a factor in average pay. So I don't think average pay. I just went to nibble in there and went average pays and pay gap, but we'll move
Yeah.
back off that again in case somebody gets triggered or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, well, I triggered something on a bloody Goggins Facebook group as well the other week. I put some content on a few groups, and that was one of them. And it was the only one where it was it was the one about what challenges are facing men currently. And a militant lady, to put it politely, jumped on the post and was really, really, really abusive. My whole thing was trying to get men to open up, as I said, preferably, privately get them to open up, within themselves, within their circles, within their communities. But if they're even brave enough to do that on social media and they're comfortable with that, then that's a good thing as well, right?
Absolutely.
So I was quietly sort of applauding in the background. Go guys, keep talking, keep chatting. And what was brilliant is that they were interacting as well. It wasn't about they were waiting for a reply from me, the guy who sent the post or whatever. They were like interacting.
It fed onto itself.
Yeah, and it was building. It was really building. Like there was hundreds of comments on it, and it was a really, really good, productive conversation. But this woman jumped on and she just went off on one. You guys are a load of fucking pussy asses. We come on here because we're all tough Goggins fans, and she's probably could be one of those people that are super fit, super strong, big muscles and all of that, and fine, whatever. But that isn't that the whole point. Guys should still be given the space to be vulnerable. It's a key point, isn't it?
I think showing the vulnerability is a sign of strength. If you're
totally.
If you think of it in terms of the animal kingdom, if you're that strong, if you're strong enough to show that you might be vulnerable, because once you're vulnerable, you're open to attack. But if you're showing that, you don't mind showing that you're open to attack because your strengths are strong enough to cope with it, You know,
Yeah,
then that's part of being a man. I think. I think men
totally,
should be doing that.
totally. And if you can bring it to those levels, that's advanced levels
Yeah,
of
yeah, that's true.
you know, knowing yourself and being comfortable in yourself and being totally, as you say, vulnerable and yeah, not worrying about the hyenas at your back. I don't know if you see it. There's a little clip with a lion and a group of hyenas, and the hyenas were after the lion because he was showing vulnerability. But the hyenas didn't realise that his bigger brother was round the corner, and he
You hear
backed
them
him up.
smash.
Yeah, he did, and then the hyenas run off. So yeah, it's just all of that is just a big shame in that sense of the word. A big shame, as in it's
Yeah, it's a shame
yeah,
that we're not able to do that peacefully without getting.
yeah, yeah,
But I think it's funny because women tend to have. I mean, I have female clients as well, and they tend to have. Uh, I speak to them about this stuff because I'm always interested in getting the other side, the other perspective. We probably do think differently. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe we do, maybe we don't, but I think we do.
mm,
Um, and a lot of scientific study says we do, so I'll go with that.
yeah, yeah,
And women want. It's funny because if you look, they talk about women don't care about money or how well you're doing and all that. But if you look at marriages across, and actually they did a poll in America. Now I don't know if America's a bit different, but they did a poll in America, and basically women wouldn't marry down in income, which baffles me because if you're a high flying woman, now that's not true for all. I know that's not true. There's plenty in my own family are an example of that.
mm,
We have really strong women in my family, and I'm grateful for that. But it's but women tend not to marry down anyway in regards to income. They only
mm,
want help, and they want somebody else. But then if you've got two people who are living that, then where's the balance? If you have two people who are living that, say, a corporate lifestyle, maybe it's something like you
yeah,
are. Where do you balance in that? There's no
yeah,
space.
yeah,
So it does baffle me. It's a lot of the stuff's contradictory. They want men to be in touch with their feelings, but then that's off. It's like where the fuck do you go from there?
we you know, I've had a few conversations with guys, and like the biggest problem, the goalposts keep moving, man.
Yeah,
We think right, this is what a man should do,
yeah.
according to society, according to my immediate environment, according to my close friends, etc. Who knows what the hell a man's meant to be doing these days? And you got let's not even go into the whole, trans stuff and all of that.
Yeah, I don't even want to touch on the subject. It's not a subject
So,
I've discussed yet. It's just something,
so
who am I to talk on it? I do not understand.
yeah,
There's no point.
yeah, yeah. But my only point is, if you chuck all of that into the mix, I don't know,
Yeah.
call it baking a cake or whatever, then what is the ingredient? What is the solution? What is a man meant to be? Who the fuck knows? Nobody knows. So I suppose from my perspective is that thing of just being able to go internally and find out really truly who you are, and just stick with that, path, man. And because my journey's then moved on to this ego versus soul thing as well. I was I was Mr. Ego before, Mr.
I quite like ego versus soul.
Yeah,
That's
really interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna get into that in a second. I like that.
It's really fascinating. Yeah, and I'm a novice. I'm still a novice, but there's certain key principles where I find myself with any of this sort of stuff. I think it starts with self-awareness, and if you can see triggers of negative behavior or egotistical behavior, if the further off you can see it, and the more early you can fix it or resolve it or block it, the more chances you've got with everything. And we do a lot of that. I do a lot of that with my clients.
I've got a pretty interesting question then, based on that whole concept, which I love, by the way. It's great.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on ego? Is it a bad thing, a good thing, essential, non-essential? What do you think?
To put it simply, a very simplistic view, I would say, especially to someone who hasn't really probed into it at all, is I would say in life there definitely are times where, rather than reacting with your ego, i.e. the instant gratification and the instant reaction to negative talk or somebody who's sort of coming into your space, is to be able to check yourself and actually move away. And I'll get a tiny bit woo-woo, where you move away and you actually tap into your higher self, the highest version of yourself, which doesn't waste energy on, I call it stupidity, negativity, having these ego battles or reactions with some, especially men, I suppose. There's a lot of testosterone there, man, the whole alpha male thing. So that would be my simplistic description of it. Just beware to check yourself when you get involved in, as I say, low level egotistical reactions and behaviors.
Yeah. I mean, I can say I've probably felt the benefit and the drawback of ego in my own personal experience.
Yeah.
Definitely, I'll mention the drawbacks first because they're quite obvious. You can have ego lifted in the past. I've torn rotator cuffs. Because I've watched other people in the gym getting stronger, and I want to be ahead.
Yeah.
In my mind, that there's no point in me saying that an ego is not part of my personality. It certainly is. I do want to be the best. Whatever I try to do, it's what drove me to end up doing martial arts. I planned to start martial arts just to have a form of self-defense and to feel more confident. I didn't go in there with the intention of competing. Very quickly, I wanted to be the best in the club, and I wanted to be the best that I could be. I wanted to be the best around, and that's ego. So one of the benefits was I got pretty decent. I started to get a lot better because I expected so much more of myself because of my ego. I wanted that and I expected more of myself. So I do think that there's room for ego. I think it's an important thing for anybody to have, but definitely men to have. But on the flip side, it's I think you have to think long term when it comes to ego. Like, for example, I mean, the first couple of training sessions in mixed martial arts is a great lesson in mixed martial arts, really. I'm walking away with my legs black because some guys have just been kicking the shit out of it all session because I don't know how to check a leg kick. The first couple of sessions, my leg fucked. And being able to just say, you know what, you're not going to keep. I'm going to go and sit down and not fucking do this spar because you're just destroying my leg. But I wouldn't have done that, and I didn't do that. I just kept on going and get my leg destroyed. But that just ended up meaning I couldn't train properly for the next week. So it affected the long-term process. So I think you have to think. You have to be patient with your ego. It's okay to have it and to aspire to more as such.
Yeah.
But to be patient and understanding with yourself as well. I think you need to have that yin and yang. So that you can sit down and say, no, I'm going to be patient today. I mean, I almost got my arm broke the first couple of weeks in jiu-jitsu because I wouldn't tap the bar. That should fucking change, I can tell you that. I've tapped millions of times since then, millions of times. I'm very happy to be caught in things. I learned something new. I think it's about approaching approaching life with that process in mind. Thinking about getting better rather than being the best.
Yeah. I came out with a phrase to my mates a while ago, and they called me out on that, and they said, that's a load of bollocks. I said, that's not you. I basically said, I'm going to enjoy the journey from now on. Yeah, it's not about the destination, or it's not about winning. And I got so many looks from the lads, and they were like, what load of bollocks. I don't believe a word of it. Yeah, every session that we do, you want to be number one. You want to be first. You want to, push yourself to the extreme limits. And I'm like, okay, all right, you're right.
Yeah, you got me.
And they knew. They're just laughing at me, man. They're just like, what are you talking about? But you know what? Over time, and again, this isn't being more woo-woo, whatever. Over time, it's similar to what you've just said there about. It really isn't about the prize. It really isn't about the medal, the prize, standing up there as number one. I believe the better way, the sole way of doing it is just to be the fucking very best you can possibly be in all circumstances, you know.
100%.
And if somebody's going to beat you, man, they better bring it, you know. And it's that as
I
opposed
think
to
that's a really good point. Like,
yeah,
I think I mean, from martial arts is a brilliant analogy, and it's the way I understand my whole life. To be honest with you, I kind of break
yeah,
it down in terms of that, and it makes things very simple for me. Um, but you know, when you're in the gym, you're training, whatever, you're practicing. That's not the time to let the ego get involved. That's the
totally,
time to be involved and let the soul and the journey and just enjoy it. Have a laugh with your friends. You know, if you get tapped out a fucking 100 times or if you get smashed, it doesn't really matter. You know,
yeah,
it's the same thing in business. If you put out an ad, it doesn't fucking work. If you know, try and you balls up a sales, none of this. I mean, it shouldn't matter. That
yeah,
just take what you can from it, learn, don't repeat it,
totally,
make the mistakes, and away you go.
totally,
You know, but then when it comes to competition time, you know, I think then you have to kick into that darker side or that ego side.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
have you seen the Mike Tyson? Have you seen Mike Tyson's coming back?
Yeah, I've seen bits of it.
Oh
Yeah, yeah,
God, man, I
yeah,
am
yeah,
ridiculously excited for this. Like
yeah.
beyond.
Who's he going to fight though? I haven't seen that. He's not going to fight normal younger boxers, is he? Or is it?
I think he was talking. I think there was
No.
talks of him fighting Evander Holyfield, like a rematch or something, which would
Oh,
be
right.
pretty.
Okay.
That'd be
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
that'd be pretty cool.
two older fellas. That's fair enough, isn't it? But for
Yeah,
him to step back into the, you
yeah.
know, the
Although,
arena.
man, you have to make the point that a lot of these guys are on HRT, you know, which is
Yeah,
pretty much like
yeah,
that's like taking 10 years off your body, 10, 15
yeah.
years, that shit.
What is it? He's
From what I've
53 or
heard.
something, is he? Something like that?
53, yeah.
Yeah.
He mentions ego. That's what triggered my memory. He talked about his ego. He talked, my ego's back. The gods of war
Ah,
have
right.
reawakened my ego. I was like,
Yeah.
shit.
Well, you know,
Fucking shit. How are you going to
he's
fight that? Like,
if he's awakening, then everybody needs to listen. You know what I mean? He's just a beast, and he's just like something else. It's you know,
it's
it's
definitely exciting. Like,
yeah,
I think like what you're saying, they better bring it. And I think it's
yeah,
about
man,
in everything that we do, we need to put our all in. You know, if
yeah,
you're not fucking into it, you know, then
yeah,
that's you know yourself, and you know you're short selling yourself. That's the thing. You've got to
yeah,
wake up every day, look at yourself in the mirror, and say, "I'm short selling myself,"
yeah,
which is
totally.
bullshit. That's not a good way to live at all.
Yeah, and that was part of the thing of me in the corporate world. I was doing so many activities, I wasn't in it, and I'm very much sort of all or nothing. That's my own personal, what would you say? My own personal lookout. It's not perfect by any means, but it's just the way I am. And but yeah, you've got to do stuff that you fully enjoy and that you fulfill you, and then as you say, you got to do it for real, haven't you? You got to do it, man. You got to go for it as opposed to pissing around. What's the point in doing things half-assed?
Hmm.
It's pointless. You're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to get the benefit out of it, and it shows as well, doesn't it? You know, when you're interacting with someone or you're in a project with someone and you can just tell they're not in it. So
I'm always amazed me is, and I could tell my younger brother was small when he started the jiu-jitsu, but I always kind of it's funny. He's a freak athlete, but he because he was smaller and younger and all that. He only attended for a short while, but when he was there, it's like the bigger guys come away and go, "What the fuck is this kid on? You know what is he fucking? What's he eating? You know?" And it was just because like he has this thing of just he doesn't know how to do anything by half. Like he literally there's not, which is probably why he's such a freak athlete. You know, he doesn't understand the whole by half thing.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
just all out. You know, he empties
yeah,
everything, and I think it
yeah,
used to freak a lot of the bigger guys out. And they're like, Jesus, this
yeah,
because for him that was like a real fight or flight type thing. And
yeah,
whilst
yeah,
that's
yeah,
not a good idea to do in training, that's what made him scary. You know, that's what people were like,
yeah,
"Fucking hell,
yeah,
what's that
yeah.
kid?"
Intensity, innit? Level of
And
intensity.
exactly.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's
I have to pull.
sorry, go ahead.
Go on. I have to pull back on certain things. Not so much now, but when I was younger, if I get involved in stuff, I'm full on, man. I just, and it's not ego. I wouldn't say it's ego. It's a flame inside. It's something inside that you're just going to do your very best, and you know, actually, we do a fair bit of identity work in my coaching, right? I don't know, you're into all that, but you know, the higher self and the low, yeah, the higher self and the lower self. And put it this way, and the people that know me laugh at this. Well, I said my higher self was called Fearless Fitzy, right? That was the initial higher self, but then I was like, you know what? It's fucking exhausting being Fearless Fitzy 24/7, right? So, and then the other end of the scale is Frail Fitzy, the guy in the darkened room, the guy who doesn't have answers, you know, bent over posture, doesn't want to speak to anybody, confused, done in, broken, all of that. But what I've now found is a guy in the middle, the peaceful terminator. Yeah. So he's got elements of peace, and he just wants peace. Really, he just wants to do his thing. He wants consistency. He wants, you know, a higher level of consistency, above average, and all of that. But essentially, he wants his brain to be at peace and to not have the ego thing, not have the war thing, not have the what do you call it, the resistance from his environment or from other people and all of that. But then the Terminator thing is when he has to, boom.
You know, hit that switch. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what I was kind of getting at with the, you know, with the chilling and the relaxing and the training, and then the ego and competition. The best I've probably heard it says is, I would rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Yeah.
So you need to develop that side of yourself, to have that hardness, to have that discipline. You know, it's not just talking. I'm not talking about war or combat or nothing like that. No, I'm just talking about general day-to-day life, the resilience and the mental toughness that we need to get through. So we need to have that highly tuned, but also not to be so focused on that you kind of don't smell the roses. You know, you can be so. I got into a bad habit of pushing forward so hard that, you know, there was nothing behind to kind of consolidate. It was just fucking array, you know. So you have to kind of take your time, just build it up, and sometimes it's good to have some level of comfort as well.
Yeah. Well, I say peaceful terminator for me is it's maintainable as well. It's not. I say Fearless Fitzy is sports mode. That's where you switch up the turbo in the car. That's like, just move out of the way because this crazy motherfucker's back in the house. Just let him carry on. Let him do his thing. Yeah. It'll be done in half an hour or an hour or whatever, and he'll be back to normal again. He'll be all right. You know, and and we do a lot of that with my clients as well. They've all got their own names. It's their own perception of it, you know. But it's fascinating, and you know, we do a lot of work connected to that as well. How to be that better person as much as you can possibly be on a regular basis. You know, various different hacks of
have you read
doing that.
The chip paradox? Pardon me.
I have, yeah. Do you know? I read that many years ago, but I wasn't ready for it. That was the point. So this was like probably 10 years ago, and the thing is as well, I was recommended to read it by HR, right? So of course, because someone else has told me to do it, especially HR, I've gone, well, fuck you, you know, I'll read it, but I didn't. I kind of remember bits of it, and I think it is quite similar to that, isn't it? Where the chimp kind of runs havoc if you allow him to, and you've got to keep him under control and all of that. I do need to read it again. Actually, it'll probably resonate with me a lot more now. What do you think of it?
The one thing I picked up from it, that there's a lot of good stuff in it. I mean, understanding your brain and how your thoughts occur and by what process. You know, it explains to a large degree procrastination, what we see as laziness, and so on.
Yeah.
You know, it explains all that in very good detail. So I liked that side of it. I liked how scientific it was. What I didn't like, though, is it almost gave you like a scapegoat, like, oh, this is the reason why you're like this. Like, there's, you know, to just expect to be like this a certain percentage of the time, or and it kind of allowed it was trying to tell people to disengage from, or what I picked up from was disengage from the primal side of your brain.
Right.
But I feel like if you do it right, the primal side of your brain should be your big energizer. Like that's where all your energy is. That's where the big engine is. The engine isn't in the intellectual side of our brain. You know, we know we should do something, but we don't do it. Why do we not do it? Well, it's because the intellectual side's got no fucking energy. It's the primal side's got energy.
Yeah.
I think we need to harness that. So rather than, you know, he's talking about controlling it and suppressing it and stuff like that, I don't think so. I think we should try and harness that side of it.
Yeah.
Try and bring that side out and then use it to fuel other projects that the intellectual side can guide it on.
It's a big thing. It's a big thing lacking in certainly men, I would say, is that get up and go. That is it motivation? Is it drive? Is it willpower? You know, I put a post out on that a little while ago, and I got very interesting comments back. And I still leave it open. What is the answer? And everybody's answer is probably a bit different.
What would you say, Paul? I'm actually interested because you've put out some great content from what I've seen, so I'm interested.
Yeah.
As to what you see it on.
With that one, I personally, I think willpower is the one, because I think willpower can be built like a muscle, as it were. I think you can test it. I think you can. Let's say you start from day dot. Let's say you were saying earlier about people with trauma, whatever it is. You start from today. I believe that you can push your discipline and your routines from here forward, and you can build it bit by bit by bit, and you can test your willpower, and build it up to be stronger and stronger. And you can do it through various different exercises and various different activities or techniques. You know, things like the cold shower, things like running that little bit further than you have before, lifting a bit more than you have before. But I think essentially the big thing that it would be awesome to have it and to find out the ingredients of it, is getting people to change in the first place, to actually make the decision to step up, to even get in the arena. That seems to be the biggest one, where people are sitting in their fucking comfort zone, you know, and it's all nice, it's all rosy, it's all, you know, they're all covered by the fluff or whatever it is, and, you know, eating cakes, you know, watching Netflix, and, you know, that bit takes, you know, when I start with a client, I have to be really, really, really quite forceful when we start off to just get that ball moving, that energy, that momentum, that big boulder that's been sitting in front of them.
I think in a lot of cases, you mentioned identity earlier, and I smile because that's probably our kind of centerpiece in regards to how we approach things.
Yeah.
I do believe that's what it comes down to. It's who are you?
Yeah.
And, you know, people need to realize that all the time that they're creating the evidence in the real world for who they believe themselves to be.
Yeah.
If they don't change that belief of who they think they are, then none of the evidence is going to change, and nothing's going to change on the outside if you can't change it up in here first, you know?
Yeah. And I think also similar to that is, I do quite a lot of visualizations about that next level, about that, you know, I've got one person who wants to be a CEO very, very soon. You know, he's quite a high level senior management, but he wants to break through that barrier and be a CEO. And I'm like, you have to believe it, and you have to look forward. You have to visualize forward to see what that person looks like. And we've done all that. We did quite a few techniques of, you know, who is he? Tell me who he is. You know, blank screen, put him up there. Tell me in all his glory. What does he look like? Tell me all about him. Tell me his characteristics. Tell me, you know, what's happening in here, you know, his heart, his stomach, his brain, what's going on there. And to really believe and look forward and be excited about being that person as well, you know, for that identity thing. And I think you can apply that to whoever at any level. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. that visualization seems to be a good way to raise somebody's energy, to get them to get that. One of our guys in the group, what do they call it, the critical threshold or something? Basically, that's starting energy, you know. But a good way we tend to do it for some of our clients. It's funny because we push hard, but we also start people off small. So we have a small threshold, and we have something called the 2-minute rule. It's basically swinging the 80-20 principle on its head. So
Yeah.
you work out for 2 minutes and rest for 8. And if that's what it takes to get somebody started, then that's what it takes in regards to the training.
Yeah.
But the same thing goes. I mean, I'm in the process of writing a book like that at the minute, where I'm literally doing 2 minutes at a time. Which, you know, sometimes I do longer, sometimes I don't, but it's still stay relatively consistent with it.
Yeah.
You know, so these things are important, like, and that's the type of thing that will, if you lower the starting energy needed, then sometimes that can be a way to get people moving. And once you get some kind of momentum, it's easier to build on. Then once you have something going on.
Yeah. It's definitely the first momentum, definitely that first shift. And as I say, I do a lot of work in the subconscious with that, because that program's been running for years, man. They've been doing the same old shit for 30, 40 years, you know, over and over and over. Even if it doesn't make sense, we're relying on that regular behavior or pattern, you know. Well, I'm doing it the same way. Why are you doing it the same way? Well, it worked last time. Did it? Did it really work? Did it really work? Or are you just, you know, going over and over and over and, you know, on automatic? I mean, I say it's like do you remember the old hard disks on computers where you got the little green light, which keeps flashing, the computer's busy, it's working? Yeah. I say the subconscious is like that for me. It's just continuously wearing, and all it will do, if you let it, if you're lazy, if you're in your comfort zone, all it's going to do is churn out the same shit you did last year or the week before or the day before. And if you're comfortable with that, then fine, crack on, you know. But there'll be a limit to your progress, won't there? There'll be a limit to what you can achieve if you just rely on that. You've got to. I think
a lot of people tell themselves that lie, don't they, about being happy. I'm content with how I am.
Yeah, I'm comfortable.
Then, you know, but then 2 weeks that they're talking about, you know, how down they are, and they're not connecting the two dots. It's like, if you're like you mentioned earlier, if you're sat on Netflix and eating shit all the time, that's fine. I mean, I still sit and watch film on Netflix from time to time, and I still like enjoy sweet food. But if you're doing that all the time and not doing anything to balance that, you know, to have that to ignite you, like you were saying, you know, then that's going to feel terrible after a while. The whole sitting about and getting comfortable, that's going to feel shit really quick.
Yeah, I'm not perfect by any means. You know, my clients ask me what my diet looks like and all of that. I still, you know, because I gave up so much alcohol, I have a strong, not addiction, but a strong taste for sugar, you know, but I allow myself that because I say to myself, you know, compared to the amount, you know, 2 bottles of wine was like 1,500 empty calories straight in my belly every single day, you know. So if you've removed that from your diet to start with, you know, I mean, it's a long time ago now, but I have to give myself some allowance. You know, I'm quite addictive type person. I've gambled before, I've drunk, I've smoked and all of that. And, you know, we all have to have something. But then I do things like, you know, dopamine detox, where you remove all of that for at least 24 hours. Remove all of it out of the way, and then you reset everything again. And actually, it makes you realise how good it is in the first place, you know, because that includes it includes sex as well, by the way. You know, you go and
that's one of the highest dopamine hitters. That
you go on a starve of that for a little while, and you're back on again. It's you know, you're like, wow, you know, I'm 7 years old again. I haven't experienced anything, you know what I mean? And so yeah, as I say, I mean, the key thing, I said, I'm not perfect, but like you said, as long as most of the time you're doing positive things and you're doing things that are benefiting you across the whole sort of wheel of life, then that's what it's about, isn't it, really? No, I don't want to be perfect. Certainly don't want to be an angel or anything like that.
What's your obviously, I mean, I started as a personal trainer and a S&C coach. I didn't do any mindset up until Well, I've always done it in various forms, but not really consciously. It's just something that you have to do to get an athlete ready, or something to get a client moving, to
Yeah.
get them to stick to the plan and so on. Well, you do need to form some capabilities of making people motivated. I hate that word, but whatever,
Yeah.
don't like motivation at
It's
all.
a
I
bit
don't like the word,
it's
concept.
it's woo woo, isn't it? Motivation.
Yeah,
You
it's
fucking
just like, I mean, I don't like that. I prefer inspired, because I feel like people go on and they watch these fucking motivational videos. And I've done it myself, we're all guilty of it. But you go on, you watch them, and then you're fucking fired up for 5 minutes. And it's like,
yeah,
oh, and then you're halfway through and you're like, oh, fucking hell, I'm dying,
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's just training, but it could be anything,
Yeah.
You watch,
Yeah, Goggins used the words. Goggins uses the word drive. He said it's a drive. It's a drive from within. Not sure I fully agree with it, but one word I do agree with: the highest, best performers, including Conor McGregor, obsessed. The word is fucking obsessed, man. You become obsessed with it, but in a positive way. Not obsessed where you know nothing else but than this crazy stuff than you're doing, but you love it so much that you're for me, obsessed is like 95% full on throttle, and yeah, you're just intensity is probably another word, that sort of thing. And how do you get that? How do you achieve that? You've got to love something in the first place, I would say.
yeah,
You've got to.
it's massive. Like, you've got to enjoy what you do. If you're not enjoying it,
Yeah,
then what's the fucking point? Because
yeah,
it's a short enough existence. We may as well enjoy it while you can.
yeah,
And people think, well, that's a good reason to go and live the party lifestyle or whatever, because like, that's enjoyable. But like we mentioned earlier, that's only enjoyable. I mean, just go and try it. I would say to anybody, go fucking try that, because pretty soon that gets old news, and it makes you feel shit about yourself eventually. And
yeah,
and
totally.
it's an important part of life. We should enjoy ourselves. We should interact and enjoy each other's company and all the rest. But that's not, if you're doing that all the time and that's all you ever do, where are you building any self? You're not building any self-esteem. And I think these self-esteem building activities like training, like working, what work you do, I think that's important and should be. I mean, if your work doesn't build your self-esteem, then you need to change your work.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. A big thing for me is have you been into Tony Robbins at all? Have you done?
Not a whole lot. I've kind of seen him on and off, and I've seen some of what he does, and it's absolutely amazing. But
Yeah,
only from YouTube. I've not gone to see him or anything.
yeah,
I have seen a lot of good speakers, but Tony's not one of them.
yeah. So the two things I came away with from Unleash the Power Within was the two things that I seem to be missing was growth and contribution. He talks about different human needs. Yeah, human needs. Yeah. So contribution, giving back, and serving people. I never understood what that meant until I sort of got into this field, because I've always dealt with products. I've always dealt with merchandising, selling products, good customer service, and all of that. But contribution, as in, a lot of my journey now is just doing the right thing by people, just having honesty and integrity in what you do. And my top priority always is the client's progress and the client's happiness, their fulfillment, or whatever whatever they're looking for. And then the other one is growth. That's massively what I was missing before. I was just that hamster wheel that I was talking about. You go round and round and round.
Mm-hmm.
And are you actually growing? Are you growing personally? Are you growing mentally, physically, all of it? And then the sweet spot is trying to balance all the areas of life and try to continue. Like Tony's phrase is 2 millimeters. He said you just aim for 2 millimeters progress on a daily basis.
Great way to look at it.
Yeah, and I like that. And it's for me. I say to myself, that's all I'm looking for today. All I've got is these 24 hours. I don't look beyond that, especially with alcohol and stuff like that. I say I've got 24 hours. Let's just do the best I can do today. Push that 2 millimeters, and then all of a sudden things start happening, don't they? You get into conversations with people, and you attract positivity. You attract good things. So, and then also, what can you control? What do you focus on? Do you focus on all the shit that you hear on the news, or do you focus on what I can control, which is mainly this, isn't it? It's mainly that, isn't it?
There was a great spot about that. Have you ever read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People?
Yeah, Stephen Covey, isn't it?
Yeah, that was fantastic. I really enjoyed that book. I liked this whole take on the parenting. Actually, he mentions his kids in it a lot, and I took a lot from that. I took a lot. Why do we act the way we do to our kids? Do we tell them off and not sharing and things like that? Is that shame on our behalf? Are we then, are the kids feeling that? Of course they are. They're feeling that you're ashamed of them for not feeling, for not sharing and stuff like that. And it was good. It's teaching you kind of not that, but kind of teaches you not to expect, from your kids what, not expecting too much basically from them, stuff that they can't do. You just have to love them no matter what, and let them develop on their own. They'll develop their own capabilities in their own time. That was good. That was very, very good. But he also talks about the sphere of influence and sphere of concern. I love that concept.
Yeah, it's quite big in it. Big in NLP. That is what you can locus of control. Basically, what can you control and what you can't. And there's so much we can't, and so much that people waste energy on. The what if question, isn't it?
Yeah.
You could go on forever. The what if, like fucking, I don't know.
I've held off asking about it, but I'll throw it in there now. I think it'll be an interesting one to throw in. What's your thoughts on the whole coronavirus thing? Because that's something that's completely not in our control. It's just. Have you any thoughts on it?
Do you know? Well, I think I said to you before we started that I don't watch the news. I watch bits of it. I don't get wrapped up in all the stuff. I'll watch like the broadcast that's important. Are we moving out of lockdown? What are we doing? What aren't we doing? I would say that we're not in control of much of it. I'm not going to say we're not in control of any of it, but I'd say we're not in control of much of it, meaning I do think there is something there about the 1% richest people pulling the strings on some of this. I'm not gonna say that the coronavirus has been made up and it doesn't exist and people don't get sick, but I would say that it has been manipulated or massaged to give more power to the 1%, to crash the economy, to get to ruin smaller businesses and make the bigger businesses stronger. Another theory was about removing currency. What better way to remove physical currency than saying there's a fucking virus and I don't want you handling money, cash, card only. So I kind of, if I am influenced by any of the information out there that people are putting out, there is something there for me. And there's a guy many years ago. What was his name? David Icke. A guy many years ago. He was a sports broadcaster on Grandstand. Do you remember the old football program? I don't know. Would you guys have it over there? But he was famous for that. And all of a sudden he went conspiracy theory, in a big way, and people thought he's a fucking nutcase, he's a lunatic, right? However, now 20 years later, whatever, his is the stuff that's getting banned from YouTube because he's coming out with all these theories that are pretty not far from the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the stuff he's coming out with is fucking looped. I mean, trying to say that the Queen's a lizard and all this other stuff. I fucking hell.
Some of it is off the wall, yeah.
Some of it is completely off the wall, but some of this stuff, well, I think he's a very clever person because what he does is he provides a ton of rhetoric and then he throws in something wild. So he'll say stuff that we fucking know it's true, right? So he'll say stuff like, they're manipulating the economy. Of course they are. They've been doing that for fucking, forever. And they want to control masses. Of course they do. You know,
Yeah.
so they're saying stuff that like none of us can disagree with. It makes perfect fucking sense. Anybody in
Yeah.
that position probably do the same in most cases.
Yeah.
Um, so, and then he'll throw in something like a fucking, you know, Nick the Queen's a Lizard or 5G or, you know, something along
Yeah.
those lines.
The 5G is quite a fun one, isn't it? That's like
That's a fun one. I mean, I could be completely wrong on this, and in future I could be laughing at myself, but that's fine. I'm happy to do that. But for now, it does seem ridiculous.
yeah.
5G idea, but there's a lot of as you say. I think generally, there's going to be a lot of people benefiting from this economic crash that's coming.
Totally.
A lot
Yeah.
of people, you know.
Yeah. Bill Gates' name's been mentioned a lot, isn't it? You know, saying that he's
Yeah.
benefiting, he's pulling a lot of strings and that, and he wants the virus, doesn't he? He wants the vaccines rather. I tell you another thing is these apps that are going around saying what is it?
Tracking apps.
Yeah, I'm very suspicious of all of them. I wouldn't
Not
be
keen on
touching
them myself. Like.
Nah, I wouldn't be touching none of that shit. You know, because that's the whole control thing, isn't it? The whole.
To be honest,
You know,
we're already. They can find this. You can.
yeah.
You know, if you have a smartwatch, I don't. I've got a little basic one, a stopwatch. But if you have a smartwatch of any kind or Apple Watches or anything like that, they have all got location on them. But they had that stuff. I mean, we were aware of it in Ireland probably because they had that stuff in the 90s. They had the technology is coming out now. The military had it 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So they had that stuff there, and they were tracking people then.
I've been there before. That's one of my stories in corporate world. You know, I worked for a company that had trackers on our cars. I was an area manager. Supposedly, you know, respected, trusted. You're put in a position that because of trust. You know, you're trusted to go out to different stores. You know, if I was in charge of 20, 30, 40, 50 stores, you're trusted to go out there and do your thing and make a difference and, you know, drive sales, profit, engagement, customer service. However, we're going to put a tracker on your car because we don't trust where you're going to be at a given time and all of that. And not only that, we were challenged on it as well. You know, I had a couple of things where, let's say, for example, I had to go to Southend Airport to drop somebody off first thing in the morning. And it was outside work hours. It was before I was due to a shop. And I was challenged on it. What are you doing in Southend? I'm like, well, for starters, it's before fucking working time. Yeah. And I'm dropping somebody off at the airport. And then we had to punch in with our fingers, fingerprint punch in like a factory.
Oh.
Yeah. So so I've been there before.
Yeah.
You know. So.
That's the one thing. I mean, I've never been. I've probably been an okay employee, but I've never much enjoyed it. I mean, I've lectured at university and I've done various forms of employment before, but none of it really settled me in. I've always kind of liked to be able to direct my own path. And I couldn't imagine working in an environment like that.
Oh, I was screaming inside because I always wanted that freedom. I just want to be me. As I said earlier, I just want to be me 24/7. You know, you talk about the whole identity thing, and it's really important to be authentically yourself. You know, and there's nothing more free and blissful and liberating than doing and being that. And it's amazing what you can achieve when you're doing that physically, mentally, through work, and if you're doing everything for the right reasons. You know, and just being you. And I think so many people out there aren't, unfortunately, for whatever, playing safe, I suppose, staying in the comfort zone, behaving how they think they should be behaving to be in the world that they're in.
Be accepted. Everybody wants acceptance, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's a part of our psychology, and from an evolutionary psychology point of view, it was part of survival. To be accepted was to survive, because your tribe had to accept you in order to look after you. And on your own, you died. Which is not really strictly speaking true anymore. Although I do think we're better in numbers generally. I think we're better to help each other out. But yeah, the whole herd. There was another study done actually. there's 3 lines, A, B, and C, and 2 of them were the same size, and the other one was shorter. And they were at this. There were people brought in. There was a psychological study where people brought in and were asked which line was the shorter line, and C was the actual shorter line. And people would say C, but then everybody else in the room would say A.
Yeah.
And the person would change their answer before handing it in from C to A because everybody else said it. So and that had a really high percentage. Can't remember the exact one, but that had a very high percentage. So we're very much ahead in how we.
Definitely. I had another sort of funny experience in corporate again. Is so we had what we call a people day. They call it a people day, where you get everyone together. There was how many of us? There was probably 100 people at a conference, and I was I second senior in the room? Yeah, I was second senior in the room. So my boss was there, but I was senior to everybody else in the room. And there's a reason why I say that. Because at one point we're in a hotel, and we were asked to come out into the hall of the hotel, big long hall. And it was, there were 2 lines, like similar to what you were saying. And it was, what was the question? The question was, are you energized? Are you energized when you're surrounded by people, right? Are you a people person, right? And so it was a yes or no answer. And you stand in this line if it's yes, that line if it's no. I was one of the few people who stood in the line that was no. And it was a real dilemma, because it was like, do I tell my whole team that I'm actually not energized being around them, or do I authentically answer that question? And I thought, fuck it, I'm just going to answer the truth as I always do. And I don't know, my boss probably looked upon that in a certain way. You've just told the whole room, all of your staff, that you're not energized, And my job was to go around to stores and G them up and energize them and all that carry on.
Yeah.
But you know what? Fuck it. And it's that sheep mentality, isn't it? Do you follow? Or
I mean, if your boss had been in any way smart, I think he could have looked at that from a very, easy standpoint. If you're going around and jizzing up all these people, in all these different stores, then where's that energy coming from? It's coming from you.
Yeah.
So, of course, you're not going to be energized by being around people, because you're not receiving it. You're giving it out. These people are coming up with you with problems and moaning and groaning and all the rest. Then you're having to dish out all this energy to help them.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to feel drained. I mean, he should have been looking at that and thinking about how he could revamp your energy and bring you back up so that you could do your job properly.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember where he stood. Oh, he definitely stood on. Yeah, he definitely stood on the side that he was energized by people. So, yeah, it's just yeah, man, it's
one of them things, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do you feel exercise fits into the whole structure?
Which structure?
Like, just generally, I know you mentioned the 2, and whenever we talked, you've not really come from a fitness background as such. You're not a fitness trainer, personal trainer. You're a results coach, like you said.
Yeah.
Where do you feel that exercise fits into it all then, for you or your clients?
Yeah. So for me personally, I would say exercise is more than 50% of my makeup. I love it. I personally love it. And I think, as I said to you before, the mental side is as very much as the physical side. And it turns out, like when I follow people like Goggins, it turns out I'm one of the few people that, well, put it this way, right? I put on his video of this 45-minute workout, and it's fucking hard. I put the video out there online, and I set out a challenge, and I said to everybody, give it a go. Only a handful of people came back to me, and I think only one has said that they got to the end of the 45 minutes. So my point is, with exercise is, there's a point where he says, does he mimic the audience? He doesn't mimic them. He's got like 20, 30 people working out around him trying to keep up with him, and he says something like, "See, there you go. The pain starts now. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when you look at yourself in the mirror?" Yeah. And whatever it is, when he said that, my fucking switch went on, and I was like, right, bring it, yeah. And since he did that 5 weeks ago when I first played it, and I'm now saying I need to match him. I need to. What I do on the workout, I watch where his hands is. So when he's doing the old what do you call them? What are they called?
Star jumps.
The star jump things. Yeah. The only way you can try to mimic for me is to watch where his hands are. So I try to keep my hands where his are all the time, because otherwise you're just out of sync, and you're not. Are you really going as quick as him? Probably not. So that's what I try to do. So with the exercise thing, then I just love the challenge. I love it's not pain. It's the challenge. It's the to push through that barrier. The what if thing. Can you do more? What if I could do more? What if I can beat that person? But it's not about essentially beating them. It's about having a target to push myself that little bit further than yesterday or the week before. And so in terms of my sort of daily routine, it's always first thing in the morning. It's part of the morning routine. Do a bit of meditation first thing. I like that. That sets me up, because the head can be a bit crazy at times, can't it? You know, when you've got so much shit going on, you know, you go off the head a bit. So that's my leveler. That's the first leveler. Because otherwise you can go off a bit mad. Like if you go straight into exercise, you're fucking, you know. So I do that first. That's the leveler. And then, it's exercise. And you know what? I'm an older guy. I'm 47, 48 now. And I like to vary it, is what I do. So I try to do this every day. But then the other days, I'll do the chin-ups. I'll do a bit of plank, bit of press-ups. I'll go out on the bike, the push bike. But what I will say, I'm still testing or measuring. Yeah, I'll still try to do more than so many kilometers per hour, or do more push-ups or press-ups or chin-ups. And so it's the physical, it's the mental side, it's the pushing through barriers, it's the challenging yourself, it's mimicking those physical challenges to the rest of your life as well. You know,
the connection, isn't it?
Yeah, through the 16 months of self-discovery, if you want to call it that, I've done all sorts. I've done 4 Tough Mudders, half marathon, skydive. We talked about, did the charity boxing last year, 8-week challenge, eight weeks training, and then jump at a ring with someone who was half my age. And it was interesting, put it that way. I would say I smashed him on conditioning. Funny enough, out of all of it, you know, he was the younger guy, and in theory, you would say that his organs and his makeup should have been in better shape than mine, but it wasn't. And then now this latest one is jumping in the cage in it, 8 weeks training and jumping in the cage for charity. And I love doing that. Like, I almost get nervous if my diary's empty, if it's not full of some kind of challenge, just to keep pushing myself. Do I go mental with it? No, because my worst fear or concern is getting injured. I'm a nightmare when I get injured.
As it should be, to be honest. I mean, we had another guest on earlier this week, and the one thing that's going to knock your training progress in the head is injury.
Yeah,
that's the number one problem.
Yeah, so that's where it is for me personally, and then it makes it very easy for me to motivate other people into exercise, diet, nutrition, etc. In the program, I would say it's probably 20% of my coaching program, purely because it's an essential element of life, and certainly if you want to bowl around with enough energy, happiness, endorphins, all the good things, the mental health, massive. You know, that's where the sort of diet, exercise part of the program. I've got 5 pillars in the program, and that's the energy pillar. So yeah, it's and I can't see that finishing. As I said, at 47, 48, I have no limit on where I intend to slow down and exercise. I'll fucking, if someone, I got, a young lad said to me the other day, he says, a guy that used to work with me, he's 15 years younger than me. And, he's like getting a bit ahead of himself and all that. It's just a small, silly little challenge. He says, I bet you I can do more press-ups than you. And I was like, oh, can you? And now we've set up an accountability thing, just me and him, bit of fun, but it keeps that craziness, that little rawness, that little, that you're alive, you're still alive. Playfulness as well, bit of mischief, all of that. You've got to keep that alive. And so we've said every weekend now, how many press-ups can you do in 2 minutes? That's all it is,
Good challenge.
Yeah. And then I've got the chin-up challenge going on. How many chin-ups can you do? And it's just another reason or excuse or a way to push yourself to do a bit constantly, do a bit of exercise constantly, isn't it? So
yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're probably a little bit heavier involved in the physical. Obviously, that's where our backgrounds come from. But I would say we probably started out like a 90-10 exercise to mindset, and then it's slowly gone 80-20, and then 70-30, and it's probably around about 50-50 at the minute.
Are you 50-50? Are you? Nice.
Yeah, because I've taken this year's been the big change. We've taken an entirely different approach, because what's holding people back is not their bodies. They're physically capable of doing the stuff. It's not that they're stopping them. It's the mindset. It's not doing the stuff the other 24 hours of the day, or 23 hours of the day. Sorry. It's a lot of these other things. It's these limiting beliefs and so on. But we try to use exercise as a tool almost, within a specific program. For example, a pull-up. And guys come in at the start, and girls as well, when they can't do a pull-up, and one of their things is, they think, oh, I'm never going to, that just feels impossible. So what feels, and that word's really important. So when you ask them, how's that feeling, they say impossible. Really, really important that you keep that tag. Okay, and then 3-4 months, sometimes much longer, sometimes shorter, depends on the person. But you get them to that first pull-up, and then they go, oh wow, that was impossible not so long ago. So these things, and we draw a very close connection to the from the physical, because it allows it allows people to see physical evidence of that kind of, if what can happen when you put the work in.
Totally. I've got I think I said to you earlier about the cold shower, when I gave a client cold shower. I can't remember if we were recording when I said that. Was
but we got that. Really.
Did we get that? Yeah. And the same guy with chin-ups this time, as you just said. Mm-hmm. He tried it, can't do it. It's impossible. Why can't you do it? And you break it down, don't you? You have a further conversation. Why can't you do it then? So what? You can't hang on it, yeah? You can't do that. Can you not just hang on the thing? I suppose I could. Go on and hang on it, yeah. And now see if you can. Can you lift yourself up a little bit? Yeah, I suppose I can. Can you now lift yourself up halfway? Yeah, I can. All right, we'll keep going, yeah. And then we'll talk again in like 2 days, 3 days, But I'm not leaving it. You've committed to do it. You've made yourself accountable, not me. I haven't said I want you to do chin-ups. You've said you wanted to do chin-ups, right? So we're not going to leave it, and they then know that. That's the thing. Like, mm-hmm. We don't write shit down and commit to do something and then let them off. Like, if they want to do it, we need to do it. It's non-negotiable, isn't it? So, and we find a way. It's not about breaking people or injuring them, like you said, but it's about
building them up, isn't
it? Yeah. So he's done one. That's all he's done. But,
perfect.
It's a start. But we had the same thing, like press-ups, same thing. We said do 10 press-ups. And he says, oh, I can only do them from the knees. Okay, start from the knees. So he's done from the knees, and then he got up to 15 from the knees. And I said, well, are we going to take the stabilizers off now, man? do you want to do normal man press ups, or are you going to keep? You know what I mean? And yeah, you do that, don't you? You play that little.
You have to. Ego's such a useful tool as a coach.
Yeah,
I would say, like, you have to, especially when I'm coaching men. It's so easy to tap into that little ego.
Totally. Yeah, yeah. I had it earlier with a guy. Again, another one, cold shower. This one hasn't done it yet. No, it's not cold shower. It's ice bath. This one. Yeah, he's done his cold showers. We're now onto ice bath, and he says he's lying. He's bullshitting me, and he knows he is. Yeah, he's making all these silly excuses. I can't get the ice from the supermarket. It's only maximum 3 packs at one time. And I was like, I listened first, and then I said, oh well. I said, another client's done it. Oh, has he done it? I said, well, he got home delivery of ice. Yeah, 15 packs of ice or whatever. Oh, is he? Where'd they get that from? Sainsbury's, whatever. Yeah. And then this is the ego. But I said, yeah, he was afraid of ice baths the same as you are now. He was afraid of them before. What do you mean I'm afraid? I'm not fucking afraid. he said, well, what do you mean I'm afraid? I'm not fucking afraid. Are you saying I'm afraid? I said, well, you tell me, man. And, you know, I guarantee you by the time we next talk, he would have done that ice bath. You know, he won't allow me to have that conversation again, I'm sure. So, you know.
It's good. It's good. It's actually, it's really easy to get when you're working with someone who's already like quite highly motivated, or not motivated, but you know, somebody who's already got a bit of that drive to work with.
Yeah,
makes it much easier.
yeah.
The hard part is getting someone who has hit the rock bottom and is lost all.
Yeah. It's like the flame thing, isn't it? It's like you know, if you got a flame from zero, like you've got to get it going, haven't you? But as you say, if somebody's a 50% or 70%, you know, I've just started a guy now recently. He's a very high achiever. He's one of them that's always nailed everything he's tried. Captain of rugby, all sorts of really high level stuff. Older guy now, obviously, and just sort of let his own personal standards dip a little bit. You know, not to average standards, but just not his level. So he's come to me with a different spec. He said, "Look, you know that I'm, you know, a high level athlete. You know, a person who's done 2 degrees instead of 1, and all this sort of stuff in the past." And he wants a different spec. He wants to. He said he wants me to be his drill sergeant. He wants me to kick his ass to start off with, you know, to get that ball rolling. But you know, some other people, that's not what they want, is it? Some other people just want gentle persuasion or gentle, you know, moving in the right direction until they, you know. But then before you know it, they're then also up to a certain level, aren't they? Over time,
yeah.
You know,
very, very quickly. I've seen my clients go from a point where you have to kick them up the arse to get them moving, to the point where you're constantly having to hold them back in case they go too hard.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing when you do that, and you sort of stand back and you say, "Wow, look at you now." You know, and I get really inspired by that. You know, they say, "Oh, you're the inspiration, you're the guru, and whatever." You know, but at the end, it's them that inspire me. I love it when you have one of them positive, energetic calls, or they ping across. Yeah, I've just run 16 kilometers today when, you know, when they couldn't even run one when we started, and you're like, it's just amazing, you know. Providing I don't get injured, as we said, like that's the fine line, isn't it?
Definitely. It's interesting. So what's next for you, bud? What direction are you going in?
Me, the mix is fine. What I'm doing, I would say, in terms of like exercise versus mindset and all of that stuff. I don't intend to put more exercise or anything like that into it. What I'm doing at the moment is refining the program and what I'm doing and just making it better, you know, continuously reviewing it, making it better over and over and over as I've got the clients coming through. Intend to stick to one-to-ones for the foreseeable, because I love it. I love that one-to-one interaction. And I actually love doing the journey with the client, you know, shoulder to shoulder, side by side, hearing their quick wins when they're down or when the shit's hit the fan. Let's deal with it. Let's discuss it. I've been there, you know, let's do this. So that's my immediate mission at the moment. That's what I love, and that's what enthuses me, you know. And as I said, I left corporate due to lack of fulfillment myself, or having that flame or having that enjoyment. So that is a big non-negotiable for me. Groups maybe in the future, you know, I might start a group alongside eventually, and see how that rolls. Beyond that, definitely intend to write. I need to write a book, man. I have to write a book. I've started putting stuff together. I think my personal story is amazing. I do. I'm going to be biased anyway. You know what I mean?
No, I think though, what amazes me, why I started this podcast actually, is something similar to what you've just said.
Yeah.
I think that there's so many fucking amazing stories out there that don't get aired because they just don't have the right contacts or whatever it is. But we have technology now that just makes this whole platform available to anyone. And I see, great podcasts. Like I watch Joe Rogan a fair bit, and I've seen other fantastic podcasts. But they're, it's all famous people, they're all millionaires, or they're special athletes or whatever. But actually, there's amazing stories. People in this gym, there's amazing stories from people in this gym, and I hear them all the time. And it's absolutely inspirational, and they should tell people, and it could help millions of people just hearing that.
Totally.
Stuff.
I've got another podcast next week. This guy is. Turns out we're all about. We chatted for a while, and he said courage. Courage is the word.
Yeah.
I want to talk all about courage. Just having that courage to fucking, take that leap of faith, take that change. Not be afraid of change. Try something. Get out your comfort zone. What I would say in the 16 months since I left corporate, I don't know what I do know what the comfort zone is. The comfort zone is anywhere away from my old comfort zone. I'm outside my comfort zone 24/7 now. All of this face-to-face stuff is not. I'm actually quite an introvert person by nature. I really am. I was a quiet guy at school and all of that. So, before we did this, if you remember, I said, "Are we doing video or not?" Because I needed to consider that because I'm not a massively sociable person who's out there, and
I'm really glad. I picked it up, but I'm really, really glad. I wasn't going to talk about it myself. It's not for me to say it, but I'm really glad you mentioned it and did say it, because again, that's a very good sign of strength that you're able to show that I do have some of those vulnerabilities and so on.
Yeah,
good.
And do you know, genuinely, I had to build myself up. That's the honest truth. Because if I messaged you an hour before this, didn't I? And I said, "Are we doing video?" And you said, "I normally do, but it's up to you, right? I'm happy if you don't, right?" And I went away and I nearly replied immediately and said, "Let's not do video." And then the genuine truth, I went out in the garden, nice sunny day, and I thought, give myself 5 minutes, have a think about this, right? And I said to myself, what the fuck are you on about? Yeah, I said to myself, you're the person that is talking about courage, and you're the person that's talking about pushing through barriers and all this sort of stuff. And this is a perfect example. This is a perfect example. You're gonna pussy out of this. You're gonna sit behind and just verbally talk to the guy, and you're not gonna do a face to face with him. What are you afraid of? And I did. I put myself through the freaking motion and tools that I do with my clients. You go through that whole process. Really think about this. Can you genuinely get across your point and your energy and your personality, without doing a video? And then genuinely, the hack that I used is what I tell advise the clients to do. I went for a fucking cold shower 10 minutes before we got on, and I did my affirmations in the shower, all about the hero within and unleash the beast and all of that carry on, jumping up and down, getting the energy going. And that's the truth. So I am just a normal guy. I'm not military trained and all that carry on. You got Navy SEALs out there who are this super high level stuff, Goggins and all of that. That's what I spoke to this guy about for next week. This other podcast is just a normal guy, man. But the normal guy that says, fuck it, what if you can push through that? What if we can try? What's the worst that can possibly happen? You can't do a chin up. Fucking hang on that bar, and then can you move yourself? Oh yeah, I can. Oh, hang on a minute, I've done a chin up. And then you just got to keep pushing. never give up. Never give up.
I think what I've found has been amazing, and is that whenever you bring that passion about something, whether it be growth or it be training, business, whatever it is, whenever you bring that passion out and aren't afraid to show it, it's amazing how many people get in behind you. I mean, look at yourself. You're putting out this content, not afraid to interact on social media and share your experience and so on. And you've been asked on 2 podcasts. I mean, that's in the space of 2 weeks, and that shows. I think that's all. The whole idea of this podcast was to kind of give people the unsung heroes. Let people know that there are heroes all around us, everyday people that have been through shit and got through it, and we don't know anything about it because nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
But if more people talked about it, then the people who are struggling would have that opportunity to see that there is another path. Like you said, there's another angle to look at this from.
There always is. There's always another path, no matter what it is. If it's finances, if it's relationships, if it's if it's in a depression, there's always another fucking way, man. Always. But it's being able to reframe and look at it and change your perspective, isn't it? I mean, well, you get the extreme people, don't you? You start going into the Joe Dispenza and all that sort of stuff, who are saying reality is just a perception of what you make it. Is it that extreme? I'm not sure. I don't think so. But
one of the things I found really interesting was MIT did a study recently. I'm fascinated in psychology at the minute. And MIT's done a study, and basically their proposal at the end of the study was that nobody really knows what objective truth is, because how can you find out what objective truth is whenever everything we perceive goes through our brain, which is entirely based on perception? So we all have a filter. I think is it RAS something. And basically what it does is it filters out things that we don't think is important, and filters in what we do. We only take some important stuff, as you'll know that.
And Tony Robbins talks about what you focus on
expands.
Basically, what you focus on grows. And it is like if you're like, I manifested a car into my life in the past. I'm not, as I said, I'm not highly spiritual, and I'm not woo-woo. I draw the line there somewhere where, well, let me clear that up. There's woo-woo and there's woo-woo with action. You've still got to take action.
So this whole do the work.
This whole the secret of manifestation. I kind of agree with that. Get the universe working with you in unison, synchronicity and all of that. But you've still got to do the work, as you said. You've still got to take action. You can't just fucking sit there and say, okay, I want 2 million. I want £2 million, and I'm gonna manifest it from the universe, and it's gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen, is it? So.
But I think the reason Tony can say something like that is because of the other side when he talks about service. And I think when you combine your authentic self with serving others, then the manifestation fucking happens as a result.
Yes.
Because
totally.
That's he's got a good way of going about it. In fairness, from what I've seen from him.
Totally. And what he says, like the obvious sort of example. This car. So I was never really into cars and things, but I'd seen one car that I was after. There was one car that I really liked, Jaguar XF. So sort of medium executive level, whatever. And I said to my missus, not normally talking about cars, as I said, I just said, look, I'm going to have one of them. I want one of them. I'm going to have one of them. And my next job, so that was area manager level back then. And the way it happened was, started with a company, and they said, okay, let's get your car sorted out. And I said, well, can you sort it out before I join? Because I've given my previous car back, company car, and all of that. So they organised it all. The ironical thing, the synchronicity thing, which is, without being too woo-woo, they said, yeah, it's a level 3 car or whatever. And then the document, the invoice said, it's going to be a BMW 3 Series, right? However, what turned up at my doorstep was a Jaguar XF.
Oh, wow, nice.
That's pretty random, isn't it?
That
It's
is
pretty
weird.
random, you know. So, and that was the interim car. That was the car like before I'd started. And I managed to wangle that I continued having that car for a couple of years. So I do think if you work in unison with the universe, and as you say, if you roll in the same,
Hmm.
you know, in the
It's
same
funny.
flow.
I'm gonna. There's a time when I've done exactly that. Only it was a motorbike. I manifested, but my dad was the best I've seen at this. So when my dad was 18, now I'll not go into it, but he he had very little at 18. He had a lot taken away from him when he was 15, and he didn't have anything at 18. But he met my mum at 18, and he stood in my granddad's back garden. And at the time, there was a farm up above my granny and granddad's house. And he said to my granny and granddad one day when he was 18 in the kitchen, he says, "That's going to be my house someday." And it was a big house, loads of land around it. It was a farm, it wouldn't have been cheap. And he had no job, no nothing at the time. My mum was still in school and whatever. And he says, "That's going to be my house someday." And everybody laughed as they would do. You know,
Yeah,
it's now his house, and has been since I was 3 years old. And he, he built the house, right? But it was a little bungalow, and there was an old barn out the side. So now he tumbled the barn and built this granny flat and jacuzzi area, fucking pool table and bar, a gym.
nice,
He
nice,
built
man.
this whole setup. It is incredible. It's a great house, like, to be fair. And
Yeah,
and then the house itself, he built another house on top of the house and left the bungalow on the inside. Basically built an extra floor up. He turned like a three bedroom or 3 bedroom bungalow into like a 6 bedroom 2 story.
nice.
But he's done great stuff with it. But that's something that I always remember that story. He told me that when I was a kid, and I
Yeah,
think I probably am exceptionally lucky in that I have people like that around me, or I had from a very young age, which gave me a
yeah,
massive head start, I'd imagine.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, what was the other thing? Oh, another story to add to that about doing the work, right? They didn't just fucking imagine that. Whenever he moved to Belfast to support my mum at the time because they found out my mum was pregnant with me while finishing her law degree. And rather than give up her law degree, she stuck it out whilst heavily pregnant,
Mm,
and completed it. But my dad then he says he started off on one end of the street and there was a few building works going on in the street, and it was big long streets in Belfast. And I'd walk in to each of the sites. He was a builder, and he said, "Can I get a start?" And they said no. So he walked the whole way up the top of the street, and they said no, all of them. And then he walked right back down and went into each one again, and they said no again. And then he turned and he walked back up again. So 4 times. And on the fourth one of the sites gave him a start. And it was just the guy just says, "Well, fuck, I'm not going to get fucking rid of you today, am I?" And he says,
yeah,
"Yeah."
yeah, 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 yeah,
And that's,
yeah, yeah,
one of them. It's one of them stories that stuck with me from a young age. I
yeah,
think it's
yeah,
it's all
yeah,
true, and people tell that stuff and probably make stories like that up, but that's all real.
yeah. Do you
So
know,
I'm pretty
even
lucky.
even my clients as well, like quite often what happens, um, I've had it a few times where people will come out of the middle of nowhere. I never thought I've interacted with them, right? But it turns out that they've been into my stuff for, I don't know, 6 months, a year or whatever. And then they'll come out of the blue, without me necessarily reaching out to them. Um, and, so it's that thing that, and you don't always see it in front of your face. You just keep doing your thing, stay on your path, keep sticking with it, stay authentic, as you said, and then things happen in the background. This is where as I say,
Hmm.
where I think the universe works in the background, and things are bubbling and happening in the background. And they do come to you, I would say, and it's that thing, never give up, like we were saying earlier, that just keep
Definitely.
fucking doing it, man. Keep going.
The
Keep
Sorry, go
doing
ahead.
you, innit? Keep
Yeah,
doing you, innit? Just
exactly, man.
keep doing you.
Exactly. With
Yeah.
the motorbike one, this is actually a funny one because I wanted to get this motorbike that kind of looks like a baby Harley. It's a 125, but it looks like a Harley, and I like the look of it. I thought, yeah, that's the one. I checked the price, and I thought, oh, for fuck's sake. You know, I've got 2 young kids. I thought, I don't think it's, you know, it's wise to spend that money on a motorbike, and I've got a business to reinvest in and whatnot. So I didn't. I didn't get it, and I bought myself a much cheaper one, which was fine. It was a perfectly good bike and all the rest. 10 days later, I bought it before Christmas as a Christmas present to myself. And 10 days later, I crashed the bike, wrote the bike off. Well, a van pulled out in front of me, so it wasn't at fault or anything. But yeah, wrote the bike off, anyway, bike totaled. And, you know, I said, the guy was completely at fault. And they ended up, I turned around and he said, you know, I'll sort it out if you don't want to go through insurance. Now, I could have been an idiot about it and said, yeah, I'm going to push for insurance. And I probably could have taken them to the cleaners, really, because I come off with a swollen knee and stuff like that. And it was a pretty bad smash. So I probably could have taken off the whole thing and done the whole mental health thing. But I thought it's not my style at all. I probably would have taken a year and a half to get the money anyway. And it's just, I didn't feel like I wasn't, you know, scared to go on the road again and all that nonsense. And, you know, you can say all them things. But anyway, we settled on an amount, and I thought, you know what, I want to get that fucking bike. And within 10 days, I had the right bike, the one that I should have got in the first place.
Yeah,
ended up having it.
Yeah, definitely. It's I saw a phrase the other day about it's here somewhere. I have all my motivational shit in front of me. Never give up. It's painful not knowing when you'll reach gold, but if you give up, you'll never know. Yeah, and it's like basically like that. Is that back to front or not?
No, yeah, it's fine. People see it.
Yeah.
Good that.
So you're digging away for the gold, and it's basically saying never give up, because you might just be near on it, and you'll never know if you give up. You know what I mean?
There was another one that's kind of similar to that I think you might like. It's one where there's a guy digging down into the dirt, and either side of him are diamonds, with rubies and diamonds and emeralds all other side, but there's fuck all in this middle section, and he just keeps digging this way. And the whole idea is, you know, if he had just moved over and started there, it says, like, if something's, you know, not working for you, don't keep fucking repeating it. So maybe look at it from a different perspective, open up your thoughts. The whole idea was lateral thinking, to think laterally and look at things from different angles.
Well, Einstein says, doesn't he, something about basically if you want different results, don't keep doing the same thing.
Basically. What was it? Madness is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Insanity. Exactly. Yeah, and we do, and that's I think, as I said before, that's a bloody subconscious thing, isn't it? You know, if you let that fucker run your life, you're just going to keep doing the same old shit over again and again, and surprise, you're going to be in the same place or even worse, because you've not grown, have you? You've just continued. You've just done the same thing over and over. You know, so yeah, interesting.
Well, man, that was a great talk. I think what we were supposed to be an hour, was it?
It was. What's it been? Has it
2
been
hours,
2 hours? Is it?
2 hours 20 minutes.
Has it?
Yeah.
Bloody hell! Wow.
We've done well.
Bloody hell!
I told you it goes fast. It goes so quick.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like we've covered much, but yeah, there you go. I've loved it, man.
Liked it, man. We'll have to stay in touch, and you know.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to plug my business. Is that all right?
Yeah. Go for it, mate. Go for it.
It's quite simple as everything with me. There's no frills, no woo-woo, no fluff. Straightforward. Results and mindset coaching with plenty of NLP thrown into it, plenty of exercise thrown into it. Essentially, what I aim for is trying to make everybody the best version of themselves, especially men. I'm actually saying it's men only at the moment, just because it seems to be the men that are coming to me. And yeah, so I literally walk the path with you. We basically reconstruct your identity, your life from scratch. As I say, I did it myself in a live environment, brick by brick. Got all the tools and hacks in place. The program is called Ember. So it's energy, mindset, business, enjoyment. And when I say enjoyment, I mean happiness, fulfillment, etc. All them good things. And relationships. They're the 5 key pillars that we concentrate on. And what I give with the program, 5 C's, and I just need to look up here for those. Clarity is one of them. Everybody needs a bit of clarity, the vision. Want to be able to see very clearly where we're going, whether it be a monthly, quarterly, yearly basis, give you complete clarity on what we're doing. The visual roadmap. One client, this is a bit funny way of saying it, but one client says, I hold the torch and the map, and we basically do the journey together. So that's the clarity one. The other one's certainty. The certainty of knowing that I've done the path that you're looking to do. All tried and tested methods. We don't fuck about with stuff that doesn't work. Consistency. So consistency of routines, habits, and building up the routines and habits as best possible. And we sort of talked earlier about that habits and routines can help you with discipline. You still need discipline in there. You still need a bit of hard work, a bit of graft, as we said. But the habits and routines can help towards discipline. Courage is my X factor, I would say. And getting right into your subconscious, getting in there to show you and to tell your brain, actually, just to tell your fucking brain that we can do this. It is possible. Let's take this leap. Let's take this leap of faith. What's the worst thing that can happen? What if, that what if that we've said a few times. What if, man? What if you could do it? When he's on that chin-up bar, what if you could? What if you can do that press-up? What if you can, do that presentation in front of people? What if you can do a podcast on video instead of not using the video? Because you tried to push it out, it's all about that. And then the final one is consciousness. They're basically operating from a level of consciousness, being your higher self 24/7. And, when you've got that trade-off of soul versus ego that we talked about, that for the most part, you choose the soul route, as opposed to letting ego run you, and you're, with your ego, you're reacting to all the silly little, the haters out there, or the people that are not with you, and the silly little egotistical interactions you can have, like especially with exercise. We talked about it. Yeah. You're gonna fucking lift heavy just for the sake of it, when it's not really, you're not built for it, or just to keep up with people. Yeah, and that's it, really.
Wrong progression, wrong time on your progression to lift that weight.
Yeah. So that's it. So massively high success rate. I've got loads of testimonials. We don't fuck around, and basically, your success is my success. I say to the clients, I really want you to do the very best that you can possibly can. And if it ain't working, it's not working. It hasn't happened yet, but if it doesn't work, we go separate ways. If it's not working, that's my plug. Thank you, man.
No worries, man. Thanks for giving it. Appreciate it. We'll end it there, buddy. That was great. We'll have to stay in touch. There is one thing actually I just remembered there before we got off. You mentioned about habits and stuff. I don't know if you've read a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I've seen it, but I haven't read it. Worth a look into. That's got some pretty good stuff in there as well. I found that really, it's a memorable book for me. Really good. Cool. Nice. Man, thanks a million, buddy. I really appreciate it. Pleasure, man. And what if? What if? I'll keep that in mind. I like that.